Hello. It's just me today. How's everyone doing? Hey, Chris. I'm doing fine. Um, doing fine. It's been an interesting week. I've been really looking forward to coming on chatting. What about you? I see 8 people have joined. Where's everyone from, by the way? Today I am back in Lusaka, Zambia. So I'm talking to everyone from. Let me see if this platform has maps. I think so. Oh, there we are. Maps. Yeah, great. Hey, Gwenfor from Wales. Nice. And Scott. Ah, nice, Scott. You finally made it to Latvia. Good to see that. Hey, Benjamin from Texas. Saad from Pakistan. As usual, yeah. Saad is running a Strapi meetup soon, so if you want to check that out, you should have a look. Let me see if I can find that. Yes, Strapi Karachi. I would not miss that. Yes, thanks for the tweet. There's like a link to the meetup directly. Hey, Axel from the Philippines. Good to see you. Have a lot more people joining. Um, I'll start much quicker today. And today we'll be much more relaxed. We don't have a guest. And I really just wanted to sort of wrap up the amazing webinar series that we've had over the last few months. I'll be sharing links to those in case you didn't attend any of those, but they were really, really informative. We had some amazing guests come on. Um, and let me actually pull up my slides and start because either way, this is going to be very, very conversational. So let's do the screen thing. Right, let me just, it's looking a bit weird. All right, that looks great. Hey, Kingsley. Good to see you. Um, yeah, like I said, today will be way more conversational and less structured than the previous webinars. So feel free to ask questions. There's a questions tab at the top. There's a polls section at the top also. I will be dropping some polls, and there's a people section also. But you can keep everything in chat. I have 2 monitors, so I can keep track of both sides of screens and make sure that if you have anything that you say or any comment that you'd like to make, I will see it. Don't worry. So yeah, today we're gonna chatting about the A in Jamstack. Hopefully, this won't just be everyone listening to me mumbling around some idea that I've had. Yeah. Hey, Wilson from Colombia. I think this is the first time I've seen someone from Colombia. Welcome on the webinars. Thanks for coming on. Yeah. So the A in Jamstack. I'll start with who I am, of course. I am Daniel Matalisapiri, Developer Relations Lead at Strapi. And I'll be talking to you about the A in Jamstack. The agenda for today is only exists because I like lists. So why the A? Sort of why do we need that A? What does the A mean? Why does it exist? And then we'll sort of look at this idea that I've been exploring, which is headless for efficiency. and then I'll do a demo. Although I think I'll do the demo before the headless part, and then just have like a general chat and retrospective, and then I'll leave some time for Q&A. Also, disclaimer: today we will probably not have this session go on for an hour as we usually do. We'll have it much closer to 40-45 minutes. Um, yeah, just a heads up. But yeah, let's move ahead. Why the A? Why the A? A really important question. So, if you aren't familiar with Jamstack, it's sort of this term. Yeah, we'll see how it goes, and then maybe you might need that extra 15 minutes. But yeah, back to Jamstack. The jam in Jamstack is sort of like a play on words where J is JavaScript, A is APIs, and M is Markdown. It sort of followed the convention that we had a couple of years ago, where we had like the LAMP stack, which I think was very popular with um, developers a couple of years ago, and then MongoDB came on, and then we had like the mean stack, which was that Mongo, Angular, Express, and Node, and people just come up with these like names to sort of name or identify different architectures, different ways of building applications. Because usually you have it that, uh, as the name suggests, it's a stack. So it's a couple of things on top of each other that support something, and it's sort of like synonymous with, um, yeah, it's sort of synonymous with the way people build. Hey, Victor, good to see you. So yeah, Jamstack sort of came up like that. Sad is saying my boss is here. Um, yeah, it's sort of the way the term Jamstack came up, and it sort of evolved into this thing that a lot of people use in so many organizations, and the team at Netlify being the people leading the adoption of this architecture, which is great. You have JavaScript, which makes sense because a lot of the major front end frameworks, a lot of the way people build websites today is JavaScript. And then APIs, of course, you've got to source data from somewhere. If you don't want your data hard coded, you have to have that somewhere. And then markup is also super important because that's sort of a big part of Jamstack, and often overstated because you have to have some markup that you display on your pages. And that's sort of where last week we had this session on real-time Jamstack, where the assumption is when you have Jamstack, you don't have dynamic websites, and sort of debunk that myth with our session on real-time data with Ably. And this is sort of like an overview of Jamstack, where everything fits. And then when you think about a tool like Strapi, which I'll get deeper into later, everyone's like, where does that fit? Jamstack. Strapi is a Node.js based CMS. Is that like the JavaScript? Is that the API? Is that the markup? And today I'll sort of like answer that question, and then also just go deeper into why the A. So Strapi is a headless CMS. I think that's the best place to start when you want to talk about where it fits in the Jamstack or in the Jamstack architecture. And it being a headless CMS means we deliver content to any front end via an API. So you have content in a central hub, and then expose that API, and then deliver content to multiple front ends, which is really cool. So I guess this sort of explains where Strapi fits. It fits in the API. And today's session is aptly called the A in Jamstack. Yeah, so I've been exploring this idea of headless for efficiency because I think in a lot of us thinking about headless systems, a huge focus goes towards your, your API. Or API means I can deliver to so many platforms. But there's also a huge benefit from just thinking about it as as a whole system, the API, the admin dashboard, a lot of the processes around how we build with headless, and how we make that more efficient. It's a slide I used. I just copied this from a talk I gave on Monday. That it says building software is a collaborative effort of multiple teams, and it's got like two people on a glass wall putting together post-it notes and trying to like plan, probably from different teams, right? And it's just to show that lots of different people have roles to play in making sure that a project, or usually projects of a certain size, go to market, or you finish them, you launch them, you put them in production, right? It's a collaborative effort. And when we think about projects that use headless systems, particularly if we want to like sort of narrow that down to Jamstack projects, we have these different parties involved. We have developers, of course, who build um, these websites. But I really want to start from designers, because I think taking the headless approach, you want to sort of have content at the center of your production, or at the center of a lot of your intentions. You sort of have these mockups made by designers. Sorry, sort of have these mockups made by designers where, like, okay, this is exactly what we want our mobile app to look like. This is exactly what we want our website to look like. And there's that conversation that goes on with your content team. It's like, how do we manage the content that we're going to put on these platforms? What content is going to be on this website? And from talking to a lot of people, from talking to a lot of agencies, a lot of people using and building on headless CMSs, the conversations usually have some sort of business value around content. Why do we need this content? What are we trying to communicate? And so it's that conversation between the content team and the developers, and the designers. That's like, okay, let's make this website because we want to generate a certain amount of value, right? And that conversation happens, and then the designers build that mock-up for your mobile app, or whatever platform that might be, or your website, and pass that on to the developers. And there's this back and forth between all these parties. And I sort of want to demo something, which is just an idea of how things used to be, and how difficult life can be outside of headless. So let me just do that. Let's exit. Great, that's working really well. So we have this site, which I'm running locally, and we have a couple of things here. We have a header, a hero section rather, probably for a conference or something, and then we have some text here, and we have like a CTA at the bottom, and this is just like something that I like brought up really quick. And I'll open VS Code. Just give me a minute. I'll pull my VS Code window here. I need to share that. Just give me a minute. I sort of want to show you what editing this website looks like, and just demonstrate how much of a pain it is. So I'll stop the share for a while. And good time to ask questions or leave any comments, should you have any, by the way. Let's not make this a conversation with myself. Oh, there we go. Right. So this is our this is the web page. Actually, it isn't. Let me go to so this is the web page. This is how everything looks. I think it zoomed in quite enough. I think everyone sort of has nightmares from looking at, a sea of text with a bunch of classes and a bunch of like hard-coded text. And let's say in this situation, the website I just shared a few minutes ago, we want to change some of the text here. It's all hard-coded, as you can see. It's a bunch of text. VS Code helped me out, of course, because it formatted some of this text. but I have to search for the CTA. I have to look for it, and this is a very hacky solution. I have to scroll to the bottom and change this text, and then that reflects on um, how do I do this, and then that eventually reflects on my web page. I have to deploy it to a platform like GitHub, and then have that eventually be deployed to production. It's very hectic, and that very short demo really was just demonstrating the inefficiencies at a very small scale that come from having that. Just give me a minute. I just need to go back to my slides. Yep, there we go. Yep, the inefficiencies that come from using, that traditional way where you have a web page, an HTML file, which you're editing and making changes to. And going back to the idea of, let's just go back a bit. Going back to like the idea of who's involved. Imagine a project that is much bigger than a single web page. How do the content team manage that data? Of course, they can't parse through HTML themselves, unless you've got like the world's best content team. And designers, how do they, like recommend or approve certain changes to websites? And developers, I think in this situation are probably the most stressed because everyone's telling them what to do, when to do it, and it's practically got everyone on their backs, and it's just not an ideal situation. And that was like a really quick demo. And over the past few months, I've sort of been playing around with this workflow, and just demonstrating how hectic it can be for the content team to get changes that they want to appear on a website or to appear for the end users. Once you eventually go to your CMS and integrate that into your system, you get much better workflows. But even then, there's still some stuff that can be done to make how how you do this, how you use your CMS, and how you integrate and make your workflows more efficient. And yeah, this is just sort of a diagram to illustrate that. There's always conversation between the content team and the developer team. It's like, hey, we need these changes to go on the website. Um, but of course, before the content team can add anything to your CMS, they have to tell the developer teams to like build that functionality into the website. And then again, the developers tell the content team that that's ready. The content team adds it to the CMS. The CMS data gets populated on the website, and eventually that gets added to, that's visible to your end users. That's a bit hectic. And I'll share some resources for better workflows that I've seen to sort of mitigate this. And spoiler alert, a lot of them use like Strapi features, like role-based access control, to sort of manage who has access to what and who can make those changes. And just empowering different people in the team to be able to make those changes without giving them too much scope on your whole CMS. And leveraging tools like dynamic zones also. I think I've given a couple of talks and I've shared a couple of resources around how dynamic zones can sort of be used to make web pages by content teams on the fly. You build your website once and sort of prepare the website to receive data from the CMS whenever new web pages are made. And this comes with like a lot of really cool benefits. And this is, of course, speaking to the efficiencies that I was mentioning, like, the A in Jamstack, great, you're using an API now, but how do you make that more efficient? How do you make sure that other teams are benefiting from this tool that you're bringing on? And this is sort of that. It's more efficient workflows, better experiences, and less bottlenecks for a lot of the teams. And most importantly, happier teams. I think that's also a really good takeaway from having things work smoother. So yeah, that's sort of the idea that I had. I should probably demo that. Like, just give me a minute. Change slides. I don't have to stop to change my screen. Don't worry. Um, So the way we have it here, we have this about page, right? This is on our website, and we've got a few things appearing here, and all this data comes from your CMS. And what I would like to do is sort of like add a hero to this part. So I will go into um, my Strapi admin, and I have this universals collection type. I know it's the about page that I want to edit, so I'll open that. And then you have this dynamic zone called page builder, where you can see our feature section, you can see our paragraph, and we can add more. So let's actually go and do that. We'll go and add a hero. Just be like the best company ever. And no, really, the best. And then maybe add like a button, select try us, and like no, really, try us. Try us. Very enthusiastic. And then we'll just leave like the hero section empty. Yeah, no, really, do it now. And then we'll save those changes, and then we go back to our home page, and then go back to our marketing. We should have those reflect, given that the header component works. Oh, there we are. So the header's at the bottom. The best cover ever. No, really the best. And yeah, I need to fix that so that the buttons actually do show. But see, the really cool thing is, right now, this is in the natural position of headers, right? That's not where headers go. And I can go back into my content manager, and I think this is something that's super cool. It always makes me smile just that I can do this. I press that button, and my header goes up one level. I press it again, and my header goes up another level. And when I save this and go back to refresh, my header should be at the top. Oh, wait, I should refresh. There we go. My header's at the top. And I obviously, probably in my organization, got some go ahead from my designers. My developers don't have to do anything. And I added a whole header section to my webpage. I'll share that template with you. It should be on my GitHub. I'll look for it and then send it over. It's not something that I've publicly shared just because I'm still trying out the idea. I think it's really cool, and I'd love it if you find this interesting. I'd be more than happy to have you contribute. But yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. This is the workflow. This is like the efficiency that comes from having that. You have that A in your Jamstack app, and this is a Next.js application, and I can do this for any other web page. I can build like a totally new web page. And if I go back down to page builder here, you notice I have a bunch of other components that I can add, and these are all made in Strapi. If you go to your content types builder, sorry, you have like site components here, and you can add more, and then you just have to make the equivalent front end components and make that connection. And it's a really cool thing. So yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to share, particularly around making development more efficient. Let me actually look for that template and send it. But if you have any questions, this is a really good time to put those in the questions tab. If you have any comments, if there's anything that you want to talk about, particularly around the Jamstack and CMSs in general. I don't think I put this on my GitHub, but oh, there we are. Great. Here's a link to it. This is a very old version. I think if you look at that, the last commit was like 2 months ago. So I just need to make some changes. But yeah, that's that. And I think we can go ahead now, sort of have like a chat and just opening this up to anyone if you want to mention anything, talk about anything. And while we wait for the chat portion of this to kick off, I want to sort of have that retrospective that I mentioned, looking back at the sessions that we've had over the past few months. I think, like I mentioned at the beginning, we've had some amazing guests covering some amazing topics. The the motivation for for those sessions was really today's session title, the A in Jamstack. I think there's a couple. Um, sure, Scott. I think we'll be done in 20 minutes, though, but no worries. Take care of your work call. And thanks for coming in. Yeah, the motive for today's session was, I mean, the webinars we've been having over the past few months, particularly around like APIs and Jamstack, is because I just had this fascination with how different APIs enable different functionalities for Jamstack apps, and you can sort of expand the use cases that you have for um, a really basic application and add all this different functionality in a very modular way where you have your base application built and you just start plugging in a bunch of different things. Um, yeah. Um, Oh, that's what you meant. I think so. Let me see. There should be like a. Oh yeah, I should be able to do that. Just give me a minute. I can't see you though on online. Oh, there you are. Okay, I should have sent you an invite. Um, Pending invitation. But yeah, just like trying to figure out how like it is to plug in and sort of modularize these applications with the Jamstack and have all these things come and all this functionality come in a really seamless way. And I think the first one this was the last one actually we talked about was the building real-time data on the Jamstack with Ablia and Strapi. And at the beginning of this, it's sort of like, is real-time possible with Strapi? And it was very fun to work on that application and have Shristika come and share with us how real time can be integrated. That was really really fun. Hey Scott, we got you up.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
I can.
Cool. Yeah, I had one idea while you were talking about just creating content and managing kind of copy, hard-coded versus CMS managed, and the benefits of one versus the other. I just wanted to kind of quickly share one thought that I had. It's something that I've been working on lately as well, and thinking about different caveats there. Um, Obviously, like working on being able to quickly change copy without having the need to make actual code changes and doing the deploys and waiting for the whole um, integrated, potentially continuously integrated pipeline to kind of finish up its dance.
Yeah.
It's super nice. It's incredible how powerful this one switch in kind of mindset or approach of managing this content can be. But at the same time, one thing that I came across recently was where I was thinking about, okay, so what do I do with the micro copy? Do I manage every button with it? Do I manage every label, every small title with it? Because every single piece in this kind of cases adds extra complexity, right? That we spend like 15 20 minutes at least, like reasoning about where to put it, what kind of field to create in Strapi to manage it, what to attach it either to the page or maybe another collection type or whatnot. And then potentially it could easily happen that this dynamic part is really used maybe once a year, right?
Yeah.
For to actually make the change. So just kind of thinking out loud here, as I was thinking when I was recently working on this micro copy for micro copy managed by CMS data. So yeah, that's something that I thought about when you were sharing this, that it's incredibly powerful tool that could potentially really speed up our development and eliminate a big, massive part of um, time that we need to spend in order to make small changes. But at the same time, I think it's a very valid and interesting thing to think about before actually like blindly just implementing this dynamic copy. I don't know. We should come up with a phrase with one word that describes this, because each time it's I'm thinking, okay, how do I call this? What is this? Like a dynamic
Yeah.
micro copy uh, change system mechanism. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
So
we need to coin a term for it. No idea what we
yeah,
would call it. I think I just call it like page builder or something. I think that's sort of what I settled on just for my project. But yeah, I think like everything you said is so true. And I was actually having a conversation somewhere around like, you know, the conversation of like how much should go on your headless um, CMS, right? Like technically you could sort of abstract everything to your headless CMS, but that won't make sense. Let's say JavaScript is like disabled on your website. That would just be like a white screen or a bunch of errors, right?
totally,
Um, because I mean, like I've found myself thinking, like, should I store CSS classes in my headless CMS? That way, anytime I want to change the color, I just go in my headless CMS and do that. And like, too much of a good thing is a bad thing, to be honest, because I don't think, even though they can do that, headless CMSs aren't particularly made to serve such a use case. And I think that's where things like, Tailwind come in. But it's a good thing to be thinking about,
totally.
what do I put in my CMS, what do I not? And I think that's where like headless like sets itself apart because of how it centers um, the initial development around content modeling. You sort of have to take a step back and think, hmm, what do I actually want? And I think that's where like a content centric approach is super important, because you can't just go
Yeah.
about it blindly and say, oh, this is what I want. You sort of have to piece those things together.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's actually funny. Two things here. One is about the storing classes, and the other one is about just blindly putting everything in. So, like the first about the classes. It's funny because as I have my own design system that I built for IGSTO,
Yeah.
like all of the components and all of those
Don't tell
small
me you do
things.
that.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't.
Oh,
But it's
okay.
funny because for some so what I have is in some pages I have like pieces, kind of like dynamic zones where I want to enable either to myself or the user to uh, provide or build their own kind of like mini almost components or some sort of page content inside without needing to create a separate page for it. So what I ended up doing is I ended up creating like kind of like a custom component that fits the dynamic zone component in Strapi. So basically, I could tweak the style of the button, the size of the button, the on-click handler, and the link. And so effectively, it was just it was just one page. I promise. I'm not doing the whole design system that way,
Uh,
because. But the funny thing is that as I started doing it, I realized, okay, hold on a minute. It looks like I'm kind of rebuilding Webflow here. Like
I
you
mean,
you
yeah.
you could really like build your own page builder, like really like full blown page builder if you reason about it properly for a minute and make the right things tweakable. Set up like a small design system that takes in. You could even have something similar to a theme concept that pulls in for example, border radius or color from the database of
Yeah.
Strapi, and then applies it across the app. That way you could add something like I forget which app did this, but I think there were some a big company, not Twitter, but something pretty big that allowed to in your settings to change the feel of the app. So you can tweak even I think colors and font styles and stuff like that, and that kind of thing would apply across
Mm.
the app, and it effectively would create a completely different website. And this is something that you could easily do with Strapi and like a little bit clever setup for your theme, probably potentially even with Chakra or Tailwind or something like that. So that I found to be very, very interesting, because it's this approach can really enable you to do something very, very powerful, and essentially like recreating Webflow, right? In
Absolutely, yeah.
some, yeah,
In some,
maybe
to
a little
some,
bit
to
less
some
com,
extent.
yeah, to some extent, yeah,
Sad,
yeah, exactly.
Sad says he has a bunch of websites that have micro interactions, and he practically has one Strapi repo, and then it's just like duplicates that and uses that on others. So I think that's also like really really big. Just um, how you can have one project and then utilize the components for that project on multiple projects. By the way, the that implementation you talked about, is that for IJS?
That is for IJS, yeah,
Oh, okay. Context
yeah.
for everyone. Scott is working on IJS, which I think you should check out. It's pretty pretty cool. I
Ah,
hope that's
thanks.
shareable, because I
It
remember
is shareable.
last
It's
time we
not.
talked,
Yeah,
you were still
it
sort
is.
of
It
like,
is kind of. It is kind of shareable. I'm still working, and I'm not officially publicly launching it yet. But everyone's welcome to check it out for sure. Thanks for the
yeah,
small promo there.
no problemo.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, yeah,
just the other one that I wanted to say is about blindly like putting things, just everything into CMS to manage all of the small things. Another thing that I thought about once I started implementing this setup for some of the pages was the amount of data that needs to be transferred, right? Because inevitably, if you start putting everything into uh, the CMS, it's no longer statically generated, or it's no longer cached on the edge, right? It's not. It will take time to load, even if it's just like two, three small pieces. Like it can quickly start piling up if you're not smart about it, and if you just blindly put everything in, then one page can become significantly larger, and it can take much longer to load, proportionally to what it could be without putting these things into the database and just building it and then caching it on the edge and then serving it right away. Yeah,
yeah, that is true. I think that like opens up a larger conversation also around like, do you want to have your whole website static, or do you want things like client side rendered? Like, what's the balance?
totally, totally.
Mm. But yeah, all very important things to think about. Jamstack and the A in Jamstack particularly are very very interesting. It's nice to see how you're doing it, particularly with IJS. I think you've attended a few of the sessions we've had. What was your takeaway from some of them? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, honestly, I think there's like very, very big momentum, and there's a lot of things that are kind of that Strappy in a way is kind of fueling a lot of new ideas, a lot of new products, a lot of new potential services. And I've seen some of the talks, and I've checked all of them out, and all of them look very, very promising and very cool. You know, the Mealy search, um, there are a couple others that I'm sorry if I can't remember them right now, but I think there's a lot of really cool things that can happen now with Strapi kind of enabling um, developers to really quickly, without spending years and years of learning how to properly manage all the CMS parts, and um, at the same time not using something like WordPress that is not customizable. Strapi basically, in my opinion, really like enables semi-experienced developers to build really complex and cool things really fast. So I
Yeah.
think that my key takeaway from these talks and from just kind of some of them unfortunately had to be in the background because I was on Zoom calls on with work or whatever, and then like one headpiece. And I hope none of my clients are looking at this, but like one headpiece in the work, and then the other one for the Strapi almost. But yeah, so like what I was thinking is that um, it's there's a lot of things that will happen in the next year and year and a half, maybe 2 years, as these products mature and as it become more documented and more demos pop up. People create more tutorials and more um, projects that inspire others. So maybe not so much technical things, but I think my key takeaway from all of those is that the next year and a half is going to be very, very exciting in the Jamstack world.
Oh wow. Um, that's a lovely prediction, at least for our end. Can you hear me? By the way, my UI is telling me I'm muted for some reason.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. But yeah, I think just because we're almost short on time, I just want to quickly go through some of the other webinars. I think I talked a bit about this real time one with Jamstack and Avery, which
Yeah.
was really cool.
Sorry to cut
And
you off. I have my next call in 3 minutes, so I'm unfortunately going to jump off. Thanks so much for letting me in. And yeah, it
anytime,
was great
Scott.
chatting.
It was a great conversation. Thanks so much and take care. Enjoy.
Cool. Thanks. See ya.
Bye. Yeah, again, thanks Scott for coming on. Sadly, we only have about 3 minutes, so I'll just sort of go through these past webinars and talk about how I was feeling about them, and then we'll end things with a couple of really important information that I want to share with everyone. So, um, performant media management on the Jamstack was also really nice. I think it opens up your perspective towards like where your assets should lie and how you can sort of optimize even outside of like your web application, and particularly around your API and how your API stores and manages media. So that was a really cool one. Also, um, we had the benefits of API spec specifications. Um, with Strapi and Postman. It was really nice to have Meenakshi from Postman come on and tell us about all the workflows and collaboration tools that are enabled with Postman and Strapi's documentation plugin, how to sort of share your spec and iterate on it and mock up servers. That was super nice. And the first one was also one that was really popular, modern search solutions. So the Jamstack with Mainly Search. Charlotte came on and shared with us the Mainly Search Strapi plugin, and that is such a powerful plugin to enable search solutions on multiple platforms, even outside the Jamstack. I think you should definitely check that out. So yeah, it's been a very interesting few months. It's been lots of learnings, lots of interactions, lots of like possibilities unlocked for what's possible with Strapi on the Jamstack, even outside the Jamstack. So it's been my pleasure to share all of that with you. Um, Even though we have like literally a minute left, I will leave some time for questions. I think we have time for one question. And while we're waiting for that, I just want to share some updates on the webinar slash event site for Strapi. We're sort of moving the webinars. Future webinars will be happening on Twitch. So this is our Twitch. Um, Subscribe, and I don't know what the Twitch people say. I need to get my Twitch up. But yeah, follow us on Twitch. That's where a lot of our streams will be happening. We'll be streaming with the engineering team, with the different product teams. Yeah, thanks so much, Victor, for sharing that. Um, yeah, so the streams will be very fun. The format will be changing. It'll be a lot more relaxed, a lot more conversational. We'll have like live coding sessions, and we'll be showing you how we're actually building Strapi, and those start sometime next month. So please check those out. We have big changes. Scott sort of teased how the next year and a half will sort of be really big for Strapi, and I couldn't agree more. We have a really big version that opens up a lot of possibilities for the community. And if you want to sort of stay up to date with that, please go to strapi.io/v4. And last but not least, we are hiring. If you'd like to join the Strapi team, please have a look at our careers page. Um, there's some really interesting openings, particularly for developers, and it would be great to work with you all. So that's sort of it for me. I see the questions tab is oh no, so we've recently expanded our hiring time zones set to Paris ±4. So I think you're sort of covered now. You should definitely check out the page. And yeah, thank you so much. It's been really nice talking to all of you and sharing this idea that I've had in my head for quite a while. And it's just nice to sort of think back at what we've been doing over the past months in terms of like webinars and share what's to come in the future. So thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Thank you, Sad. Sad has been such a regular. I think he deserves like a round of applause. I think he's been on every single webinar. So just like round of applause for Sad in the chat. And yeah, that's it from me. I'll be ending this now. Recording will go up on our YouTube. So take care, everyone. Thanks, Christian. Thanks, Benjamin. Thanks, Victor. Thanks, Axel. Thanks, Olsen. Ciao.